Have you ever wondered why there is an unending hatred against the dark-skinned people? Most black persons do not know their rich history before colonialism, so they practice the same cruelty towards one another. It's high time black people hear the truth and take pride in who they are. This video will help you understand why white people are obsessed with blacks and often see them as a threat. Because they have a fear of losing power. This has been one of the driving forces in the war against blacks. Most whites are scared that if the number of dark-skinned people continues to increase, they will dominate every sector and thus reduce their power and influence on the economy. A good example of this rapid change in demographics is America. It has been predicted that America will be a nation with more black people in no time. When you visit the public schools, you will first notice the black and brown kids that are starting to multiply. As expected, whites are not too excited about this growing trend. Unlike how it was in the past, whites now have to compete both in the schools and the workplaces. There are a lot of Americans that are not comfortable with this, so at every chance they got, they would pick on the blacks for stealing their so-called privileges. Some people might argue that they are not racists, but action often speaks louder than words. You would have to examine people's views and their attitudes to conclude on your own. Sometimes people do not even understand why they react the way they do, but now we know better. Wait a sec, do not tell me you are watching again without being subscribed. No? Seriously? Give that subscribe button a hit, and let's continue because, beyond the fear of losing power, whites also see blacks as superhuman. From history down to the present, blacks have always excelled in any activity free from human bias, such as sports. As a result of this, they are seen by whites to be superhuman or possessing superhuman attributes, and this bias fuels the hatred towards blacks. When a survey was conducted at the University of Virginia, most agreed that blacks are likelier to excel at superhuman physical tasks. These superhuman biases often come from ancient stereotypes about toughness and aggression. It is, therefore, easier for whites to picture blacks running super fast, like a jet, or even picking up a tank. With these images in the hearts of whites, it becomes natural for them to feel threatened by innocent blacks everywhere, either in the office, school, or a game. Researchers call it moral typecasting, which means that the more you cast someone as an active doer, the less you see the person as susceptible to things being done. Therefore, the more people superhumanized blacks, the less pain sensitivity they attributed to them. Looking back at the prevalence of slavery in the past, it becomes clearer that it wasn't just about hard work, but the condition of the minds of whites. But what is even crazier is that they have a fear of genetic annihilation. The genes of blacks also make them extra special. Based on natural selection, nature has a way of always choosing the better variant of any product. This also comes into play whenever a white and black person procreate. Their offspring most times comes out with more black genes. The gem of black DNA is one of the biggest threats to whites. It makes it even more clearer to whites that they are the lesser species. In the Black American community, and many communities where Africans have been deported as enslaved people, the men were always removed from the household. Why? It was made by design to kill that threatening, strong black father figure by way of lynching, mass incarceration, the influx of drugs in the black community, little access to decent medical treatment, and destruction of thriving economic black communities. Through means of race riots, disproportionate police brutality essentially directed against innocent blacks, to name a few of the constant attacks perpetrated by racist oppressors. Black people are deemed to be intimidating. Our DNA is better equipped to survive in any climate this world has to offer. Surprisingly, this doesn't go down well with the whites. It also has been proved that all humans on Earth evolved from Africa. So, the black genes are the original genes. As a famous philosopher puts it, everybody's history is part of African history because everybody came out of Africa. Since most of them do not want to come to terms with this, they choose to victimize blacks and make them feel less of themselves. Now, if you found that hard to take in, then the next point will blow your mind. Preference of black partners over whites. It is no longer news that black men are seen to be more sexually appealing than white men. It is captured in history. our movies, and even in novels. Many white women are attracted to black men for this singular reason. Coupled with the masculinity and aggression that the blacks portray or represent, being with a black man makes them feel more secure. This is the dream of every lady in a relationship. In fact, it is one of the key traits that attracts any woman to a man. Then, there is the issue of romance and sexual prowess. In every relationship, women always have the final say. They can decide to accept or turn down a proposal, as sexual satisfaction and compatibility are paramount to their happiness. Her happiness lies in how much her man satisfies her romantically. White women have reportedly significantly higher relationship satisfaction with black men compared to when they were with white men. Experts and commentators have ascribed sexual satisfaction as the major reason white women date black men. Most US and European white guys have shown their contempt for this trend by describing such ladies as mud shark. While they detest such ladies, the hate towards the black men is even stronger. The whites have a higher tendency to be entitled to the white women, and seeing the ladies pick the blacks over them is enough to make them loathe the blacks. These ladies have come out openly on different platforms to claim that the blacks are more virile and better endowed down there. The fact that white ladies prefer black men has increased the envy of the whites. Statistics have shown that there are more white women going for black men than vice versa. As if that's not enough, the whites also display fear of losing their white superiority. For years, the whites have remained on top by making the blacks believe they are lesser beings. However, the world has been experiencing a dramatic shift, and most whites are unhappy. While white liberals reject assertions of white supremacy, many fear the loss of white centrality. Understanding the fears behind the racial politics of both conservative and liberal whites would help you know that blacks have always been a major threat to whites. And make no mistake, there is still a racialized gap between white and non-white Americans on measures of wealth and well-being, income, home ownership, graduation rates, access to health care, infant mortality, etc. The United States abolished a formal apartheid system but remained a white supremacist society. For conservative white people, the dominant fear is someday living without the privilege of whiteness. Polite conservatives defend the importance of Western civilization. More reactionary whites are openly racist about the threat that non-white people pose to our way of life. Both versions defend the existing distribution of wealth and power, even though many working class and poor whites who endorse such views have access to precious little wealth or power. Race is used by white elites today, just as it was in the nation's formative years, to drive a wedge between people who would otherwise come together to challenge those elites. Divide and conquer strategies, it seems, never go out of style. Liberals are quick to denounce the thinly veiled and openly reactionary conservative racism. But what of the fears of liberals? White liberals might reject the very idea that they are afraid, citing their support for diversity and multiculturalism. However, experience suggests that while white liberals reject assertions of white supremacy, many fear the loss of white centrality. They are willing to renounce the idea that white people are superior as long as they can live comfortably in a world where white is the norm. In summary, the conservative and liberal positions are based on the idea that being white makes them special. For the conservatives, they are often more willing to admit it openly, while liberals are evasive about racial justice while avoiding the risks required to make good on anti-racist principles. The truth of black existence is gradually coming to light. It is time for blacks to know who they are and walk with shoulders high. We will continue to share the much-needed light on the origin of our magnificent existence and out treacherous persecution. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you've learned something new. We'll catch you in the next one.